Welcome everyone to the Elephants on Business podcast, improving your small business journey one episode at a time. And in today's episode, we're going to go a bit more topical on what's happening in the market. And really, we're going to focus on the great man, Elon Musk, and his acquisition of Twitter. So if you don't know, or you probably would have known, Elon Musk has acquired Twitter for some extraordinary amount, $44 billion. And from day one, what we can see, he's taking action in the business. And Oz and I are going to just dive into the three main points that he's taking action on.
Yeah.
G'day, Oz.
Yeah, it's great to be back.
Now, Oz, obviously, you know, when you go and acquire a business, it can be extraordinarily daunting. You've done it before. We're thinking as a group to do it. And one of the biggest findings we have across our clients and just in our personal lives when you do acquire a business is taking action can be bloody difficult.
Yeah, it's stressful, right? So, like, obviously, as you mentioned, we've done it on the accounting side. Sam and I have purchased a small book of accounting fees, and obviously, as you said, it's very daunting at the start, right? So, like, put aside all the legal issues and reviewing the contracts and reviewing the client list,
negotiating the price,
all the negotiations. There's all this work that needs to be done, but as you said, you get the keys the first day, and it's like,
shit, we're on.
What are we actually doing here?
And that's such an interesting way to think about it, because there is a lot of work that leads up to this build-up price negotiation, and it's quite exhausting. And then when it comes off, you feel amazing, like, oh, we made it. But then really, the journey starts.
The journey's just starting, because at that time, you're worrying about finance. How are we going to arrange the purchase? Like, are we doing vendor finance? Are we putting
getting a loan, your own cash?
And all those things. So essentially, you get your keys. And, everyone's always got a plan. You're like, well, I'm going to execute on
X,
these
Y,
couple
Z,
of things, right? I've seen some expenses here that I can cut back on, or, maybe we can turn on advertising or, certain things. You've always got
a great plan.
A great plan.
And the plan was built specifically for the business that you were buying. But
executing is...
Day one, when actually you get the keys and now you have all the problems in that business, it can muddle your brain up.
That's right.
So what we see of Elon Musk, and obviously he's a genius. You can say what you want about him and his craziness, but he seems to be a man of utter action. And even the first topic that he's raised, or the first thing he's doing, is he's going and he's culling staff. The number is something along the lines of 40% of staff, 3,500 of that Twitter organization is getting torched in the next week or two. And it is almost only been, actually it's been a week, so we're recording this on today, it's been nearly a week that he's owned the business, and already he's lining up to fire half the organisation.
Yeah,
that's
so
extraordinary.
That's right, exactly. And, looking back at our experience, which was a very small accounting firm, it was essentially, we didn't even want to let anyone go, because it's like, oh, we don't want
you're worried.
Disruption, whereas, that was one of our plans from the start, but it's like, oh, maybe we'll just
stagger it, or we'll see how things go.
Whereas he's just like, no, I know I need to maybe eliminate this because it's probably, high in terms of, expense line. So maybe just get rid of him, and he's done it in the first week, and it's just like, wow.
And I find that so extraordinary. How do you know someone is valuable or not?
In the first week.
How do you know if their division is a core function to all this? If you fire the wrong person and he has the keys to a certain door, it can be disastrous.
Yeah.
But maybe, I reflect on my own thoughts about this, and it's like, maybe I have it wrong. Maybe I don't realize that you just have to be extraordinarily cutthroat. And the longer that I'm in business, and obviously he has way more experience than I ever probably will have, but the longer I'm in business, sometimes you just realize that it doesn't matter. If I fire and there's a problem, I'll just rehire.
Yeah.
But he is clearly focused on capacity, the lethargic nature of the big business, and just the expense management.
Yeah. And that's probably what his decision is about. He's probably obviously done some meetings at the start, like worked out roughly what's happening, and probably...
And the difference between our listeners out there who are buying a small business, obviously Elon has a team of due diligence people that did a lot of work beforehand. He would have had teams, an army would have walked in just into that organization and started to just literally rifle through the paperwork to make sure. So he would have had a plan, but to actually see how quickly he's executing on it is unbelievable.
Yeah.
And I guess our learning from this piece of the puzzle, this first item, is when you have a plan, to cut costs. And generally, when you buy a business, you always think about, I can cut this, I can cut this.
Yes.
There are all these synergies. I've got a marketing person, so we'll get rid of their marketing person. But you have to, and then generally you determine your purchase price based on I'm going to cut all this amazing stuff out, right? And if you don't cut that amazing stuff out, if you don't do those synergies, it's a disastrous purchase.
Yes, yeah.
So the first lesson that we realize is, and it's for everyone out there, is if you have a plan to cut costs, go in. Obviously, don't blow up the business, but take action, because cutting costs is generally a reversible item. Yeah, if you fire someone and a week later you're like, you have the turnover, you have the revenue to rehire.
Yeah, and he's probably playing it from an emotional point of view as well. It's like, well, he hasn't really gotten to know anyone, so it's like, well, you're just a number.
Get it done.
Get it done, Whereas if you delay that process, then there's an emotional element behind it.
You walk in, and you see people's faces, you get to know them, they say hi to you.
And then they've helped you throughout the journey, and then it's like, well, now it's like, I'm trying to cut costs. It's, you've got that emotional aspect to it too.
And, it's the reason I started a small business, and Oz and Sam started a small business. We've been employees of big businesses. There are sometimes a lot of people that don't do much because their organisation just gets bigger and bigger, and the processes are older, and you just solve problems along the journey with staff, and a new person comes in and goes, what is actually your job, and how much does it change the revenue line? Sometimes it's not much.
Yeah, and then probably there's a lot of overlapping of jobs as well, potentially as well, along that way. So it's like a lot of people are just holding hands together, trying to
cobble it together.
Tasks.
But so that was lesson 1. If you've got a cost reduction plan, execute. And amazingly, he's starting that in week 1.
Yeah.
The next item that he's doing is, so in Twitter, it's obviously a social media platform. It's free. There is this blue check mark you can get against your name,
verification,
which is verification. And I don't know too much about the process, but generally famous people or well-known people are the ones who get verified. And what he's come and said is, well, there's a status level there, right? There's people that don't get verified, and there are people that get verified. And if you want anything from this service more than the free, you should be paying for it.
Yeah.
It's just like there's a free plan for Spotify. I want a playlist, I got to pay. I want something else, I have to pay. Twitter really didn't do that, and that was because when you're growing, freemium is the best way to grow in that world.
Yeah.
But he's come in and said, in like 2 days, literally his tweet was, we're going to charge for the verification, and it's $20. And then he said, actually, maybe it's $10. Actually, no, it's $8. And all these people around on Twitter were like, oh no, I'm in different parts of the world. I can't afford $8, but it's really important. I'm a journalist. And he's like, oh, okay, I've changed it to $8 and it's adjusted for your country. In like 2 minutes, he's done that.
Yeah, he's solved the pricing issue, and he's done it in a very
methodical way.
Methodical way, exactly. He's put up a post. He's read some comments. He's got reactions from the people that actually use it.
How
and then
extraordinary!
On the spot, he's making adjustments and making people happy.
I remember ages ago. I'm a Twitter user, and more so just to follow really cool people. But I remember ages ago when he was, I guess, kind of mid in his Tesla journey, someone on Twitter, a random no-name, put up a post saying, oh, hey, Elon, did you know that when I take my Tesla to a charging station, there are people that are just leaving their car at the charging station because it's free parking? And this was a person that had no followers, no name, no nothing. And somehow he found that, saw it, and literally responded to that bloke saying, that's interesting. I never thought of that problem. Now, if you're at to charge your Tesla takes 30 minutes. Now, if you go above 30 minutes, because I know your car's full, I'm charging you.
Yeah.
And it was like, done. Worldwide.
Problem
solved.
Yeah.
He's like, my team is integrating it now. And you think about a couple of things to make a pricing decision like that. We're doing pricing review in our business.
Yeah.
We go through 100 rounds of iteration, 100 discussions, 100 stressful points. And you just go, he just makes a monster decision and goes, any problems in a week, I'll just reverse it and say it's free again. He doesn't give a shit.
Yeah. And then the other problem is we're making decisions internally as well. So we're just we're fighting, thinking, oh, what's people gonna think, or if I make this change, what's the reaction? Whereas
what is your thought? What is your thought? What is this client gonna think?
Yeah, exactly. Whereas he's pretty much gone to the market and gone, here's the post, here's the pricing, and he's got everyone's reaction,
and then he adjusts,
and he's making that adjustment. Whereas we're trying to think about 110 different scenarios, and there's always going to be one scenario that you haven't thought about, and it's always
you're always going to be, as a small business owner, thinking about the most negative scenario.
Yeah, that's right. You're quite negative when you're reviewing stuff like that.
And to me, that's a lesson in, well, this is all a lesson in twofold. He obviously, pricing is such an important factor in your business. It determines your revenue. It determines the capacity you need to service that revenue. And he just has made a blanket decision that I'm going to increase prices. And literally, if you troll through his posts, he says that we have to make money. We're a private organization now. He owns the whole thing with shareholders. He's not beholden to the share market or anyone. So he said, we're charging. And he's gotten feedback, and he's like, okay, we'll charge a little bit less, but we're charging.
Yeah, at least he's
deal with it, move on with it. If you can't afford $8, move on.
Yeah.
Which I found really, really extraordinary. So he's focused. He has a plan for the costs, and staff was the biggest one. So he's executing on that.
Looked at
and now he's like, revenue.
Yeah.
Revenue specifically from my existing client base. Like, I've got the client, they're in the door. I can see that they've been on Twitter for 10 years. They've got 200,000 followers. They're going to leave for $8 a month? Probably not. We're on.
Yeah.
So revenue management of your existing client base was the second one, and I find that just amazing. The third one, which obviously small business really struggles with, he's marketing, right?
Yeah, that clear marketing plan, right?
And you have to go, well, he's Elon Musk. He's got millions of followers, but still himself talking on Twitter, talking about it, posting media, going to see interviews, joking around with other people on Twitter itself. He's actively marketing his business. I'm talking about it. We're talking about it on a podcast. And so the world is now focused on
it's on
Twitter.
It's on the news always, you know, like obviously he's brought it for that large sum of money, and then, you know, he's got that organic sort of marketing as well.
He gets the free marketing, right? And he's done that with all of his organizations. He's gotten free marketing. But that's because he values marketing, and he realizes that he is the best marketing for his business. And I think in small business, we always talk about this with our clients and ourselves. Generally, in small business, the best marketing is you, the owner, going outside your office, talking to someone, going and see your suppliers, going and see your, networks.
Yeah, that one-on-one personal.
That one-on-one is generally the best way to kick off your marketing. Now, obviously, then you have ads and all this cool stuff. But really at the start, people are going to buy into you in most small businesses. Yeah. I buy into the tradesman that's come visit me. I buy into the builder that came and visited me. I buy into the guy at the service yard who's talking to me. I buy into that.
Those other metrics are probably those little bit of add-ons, as you go along. Yeah.
And I think, if you focus on those three elements, marketing is just that organic. He's focused on revenue and he's focused on costs. It's almost like I look at it and go, man, this is the perfect business plan. You buy a business and he is taking direct action. And it's been, when this podcast comes out, it's been a week.
Yeah, and very quickly. I think, basically that $8 subscription starts quite on Monday or something, like this Monday coming up.
Put your credit card in, otherwise you lose the verification and you're done.
Extraordinary.
Unbelievable,
like, it's very,
right?
very quick, like to action those things, right?
And to be honest, sometimes I wonder, how is he doing that when he's fired half the staff? So who is he going to do all this?
Yeah, like to make all the changes.
My mind blows, but then I just think that, well, the man knows what he's doing and he knows exactly what needs to be happened, and he's not fearful. If it doesn't go out on Monday and it goes out 2 weeks later, it's still going to happen.
Yeah.
And revenue is going to come in, and he'll just solve the next problem that comes from it and the next problem. And I feel like in small business, I don't know about you, Oz, when I try and make a decision on the business, I'm thinking about the 74 problems that can come.
That's the problem.
One of them is negative, and I just, I'm not going to do this anymore.
Yeah, that was the exact problem that we had. Obviously, when we purchased the accounting firm, we had obviously a plan, and we executed on most things, but it took us a very long time to execute, and there's still some plans that still need to be executed on, and it's just it just lingers around because we've always approached it looking from sort of a negative lens rather than
right?
That positive, and it's easier said than done, I think, at times, like to assess obviously all the positives and make action very quickly, and especially when you're a small business, you've made an investment, you've purchased something, you are very defensive at times at the start, but as time goes on and, you've got that foundation, maybe it's a bit of a change in attitude.
Guess in your example, I'm assuming, or we talked about all the mistakes that you've made, right? Made a million mistakes. Have any of them blown up the business?
No, and then that's the problem, right? So like you always look at it with the negative lens of, it's going to blow up everything, and
I'm going to be homeless.
We're done,
But the reality is,
it's never that way.
Most of your thoughts have been pretty true, and then most of the solutions have been okay, and then most of the problems haven't been as big as you thought they were, right? And I think that's the biggest thing. The final point, obviously, that I'll make on this podcast is really, if you look at those 3 items, I find them individually, I find them super extraordinary.
Yeah.
But the thing that I find the most extraordinary is that he's cut out all that general bullshit. And we have it in our very small business where you feel like you have to get sign off from everyone to make a decision. You feel like you're worried that things will blow up. He's got an extraordinary way of, obviously just because of history and example and the wealth he has, but it's a lesson I go and just go, he just gets it done.
Yeah, he
makes a call,
exactly.
gets it done, and then his team rally around him to make it work. Not, I have to make sure this call is going to work. He goes, I make a call and I'll make it work.
Yeah.
And that little shift is very much shifting from negative to being positive as a business owner. I make a decision to change the office address, or I make a decision to change my business name. I will make it work, rather than before I change the name, I have to figure out the perfect name.
Yeah, and get everyone to buy in. It's like, well, I'm just going to do it, and everyone just buy in, and we're off and running.
And so for everyone listening out there, hopefully this has been a bit of an insight. It's definitely kind of always when I see these big things and I look at them, it makes me a bit more positive as well.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, it's very difficult sometimes to get into positive mindset, especially with the world doing what it is. But, the lesson for me... It's
just those small lessons.
The small lesson for me is just take action, and generally things will be okay.
Yeah, exactly.
Amazing.
All right,
thanks everyone for listening. You take care.
Have a good day.
Bye-bye.